Morning. Happy Monday, everybody. You know what? I'm not even messed up about coming to work today. I have a very short week this week. I'm off on Friday, and then on Wednesday, we're doing a team building, so we'll be out and about the majority of the day. So, yeah, God is good. So, the work week is not going to be that bad. My weekend, Saturday in particular, was definitely a work day. So, a new website of mine is getting rolled out soon, and I'm going to start pre-sales for my new book, Keep On Keeping On. So that's happening. But also in association with the website, there will be an ebook called The 5 Breakout Blocking F-Words. I did a video on that couple weeks ago. So there's an ebook in association with the website and that video, so that's in the works. So I actually finished writing it on Saturday and had to do all the formatting and this stuff, but while I was writing it, there was one particular sentence that I know was directly from God. He gave to me, and it applies to so many different other things. And so I kind of want to hone in on that and speak on some things that he gave me this morning. So right now is just a season of elevation, manifestation, acceleration. Like boom, boom, boom. God is doing things, right? And so in this season, if this is just for believers, in this season, if you aren't seeing mighty moves of God in your life, maybe, possibly, perhaps there is a disconnect somewhere. So that the sentence that was in my ebook was pertaining to finances, but this is just in general. If you aren't seeing breakthrough, if you aren't receiving revelation, if there isn't progress being made, if you feel stuck, currently, if you are not feeling like a breakouter, there's a disconnect somewhere. Period. So if there is a disconnect, it could possibly be that you've given God the dial tone in some area of your life. You know, the dial tone, like when you call somebody and their number is disconnected, or you call somebody and they pick up and hang up. You get the dial tone in either one of those situations. So sometimes when God starts to speak to us on things that we don't want him to be connected to, we don't want him to deal with, we don't want to hear anything that will stir up conviction in our hearts in relation to that particular thing, we give God the dial tone, like, I hear you, but I'm not trying to hear you, so I'm gonna cut that off. Or our heart is so hardened or guarded that we're unable to hear in that particular area. Dial tone leads to disconnect between us and God. But that disconnect is going to produce a disconnect in life. We wondering why things ain't meshing, why it's not happening. Like, I'm doing this, and this. This is what the path should look like according to my understanding. This, if I do this, it should be producing this, but it's not working. Like, what is wrong? And that's because if you're trying to produce a God thing without God, you're not going to get the God results. That's it. And I be so froggy in the morning. It's like this is my first time talking this morning. I should have conversations with myself or other people before I record these videos, just to try to clear out my throat. But anyway, back to the point at hand. When we try to do a God thing minus God, we are not going to get God results. We can't be out here functioning. A disconnect is going to lead to a deficit. Period. We're going to go to Romans chapter 2, and it's just one verse, and it's verse 13. It says, "For not hearers of the law are just in the sight of God, but the doers of the law will be justified." It's not about what you hear. It's about what you do with what you hear. You can know all the word in the world. You can have all this personal revelation. But at the end of the day, faith without works is still dead. If your feet aren't moving in the direction of the faith that you claim to have, there is a disconnect. And that disconnect is going to produce a deficit. And disconnect happens when you give God the dial tone. So y'all, don't stay stuck. You are born to break out. You are, at your core, supposed to be a breakouter. A breakouter is one who walks by faith and not by sight to reach an appointed place of purpose and promise. You, my dear, are supposed to be a breakouter. But if you give God the dial tone, then that produces a disconnect, and that disconnect is going to lead to deficit. And then you will not be living a life of freedom, wholeness, peace, all these things. So, yeah, reconnect. Instead of having God be the Lord of some, trust Him to be Lord of all. That's all I have for you today. Have a happy Monday and a productive week. I'll talk to you again on Wednesday. Bye, y'all.